Hey guys, Sendan here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 909 Seppuku. Now obviously the surroundings are a bit different. I'm outside, it's a beautiful day. You're probably going to hear a lot of background noise because of the wind blowing through the trees and everything like that. But I'll try to speak up a little bit more and hopefully it should be fine. So yeah, this chapter was One Piece 909 Seppuku. I'm also going to be looking down a lot because my laptop, I can't see anything, so I'm looking at my phone. But yeah, it was an awesome chapter. And I was not expecting to go to. We got some like wasps and stuff. We got So I was not expecting to go to Wano Kuni today at all, and I was convinced we were going back to Reverie, and we got none. We got nothing to do with Reverie. Let me just make sure my mic's up right up as close as it can be. Yeah, so the first scene we get in this chapter was also very surprising. We see Neko Mamushi and his crew arrive on an island where somewhere in the New World where they know that Marco the Phoenix is just chilling on that island at that time. So before we even see Marco, we learn something new, which is that I'm just looking down at my phone. So we learn something that Neko Mamushi has exceptional navigational skills, possibly suggesting his role on Roger's ship at some point. Maybe he was the navigator, I'm not too sure, but it seems like he does possess navigational skills. Possibly he has an increased awareness due to his whiskers or due to his senses as a cat. So we'll see how that turns out if there's a flashback, but he does seem to have exceptional navigational skills. We then go beyond a waterfall where this village is said to be, and that's where Marco has kind of been resting, and that's where he's currently located. And here we see something I didn't fully expect yet again, and it kind of made sense at the same time. So I was good with it, and I was okay with it. Let me just adjust my chair. There we go. Yeah, so we see Marco, and he's healing a sphinx, very reminiscent of the giant sphinx we saw back at Impel Down, the huge black-skinned kind of tigerish, lionish-looking creature with the feathery scales kind of thing going. And the key part here for all of us to kind of just think about is that Marco is given an introduction, kind of Oda box kind of thing again, and here it says that he is a doctor in brackets, so that's his position. That would have been his position on the crew and within the crew of the Whitebeard Pirates. He was the doctor of the Whitebeard Pirates. Now I assume each division, the first division, the second division, and all of those divisions, they had their own doctor, because they couldn't be like Ace couldn't be somewhere else journeying away from Marco and expect Marco to just turn up whenever he needed healing. It's not like Overwatch, bro. So it's like, yeah, I assume he was the first division doctor, and he was always around Whitebeard for this same reason. So our boy is able to use his flames to heal others. He calls it the flames of I forgot what they call. I didn't even write it down. But possibly, like I said, one of the many reasons why Whitebeard he served as Whitebeard's kind of right hand. He was probably also leading the nurses and the doctors, all those staff members that were kind of looking after Whitebeard. They always had him on drip. You can hear a crow. So he was probably the leader of those kind of individuals. So while Neko Mamushi kind of watches on while he's healing this kind of sphinx, we see the villagers and how much they really rely on Marco. They're all coming up to him with their issues, like my back's hurting, my knees hurting, and all that stuff. And then a little kid comes up to him and is like, "Oh, my brother's being bullied," and stuff like that. So Marco seems to be a very respected individual and someone that everyone kind of goes to in this village. By the way, at this point, if you read the manga stream translation, then please go ahead and read the Jaimini's box translation of this chapter particularly. Manga stream seems to have had a really bad day in terms of pronouns. They were using where instead of I or you, and their just translation today in general was quite bad. So just make sure that you go and reread the chapter on Jaimini's box just to clear up any issues you may have had in understanding, because there would have been a lot of misinformation if you read the manga stream version, which was what happened to me the first time, but I made sure to read it again, Jaimini's box, as always. So we get Marco and Neko Mamushi then have a kind of a talk. They're just chatting really, with Marco filling us in on why this village is so important to him. So why is he even in this village in the first place? So it turns out the village was Whitebeard's birthplace. This is where he was born, a once unlawful land which was so poor that it couldn't pay the heavenly tribute to the world government and in turn the celestial dragons. So they weren't allowed to ally with the world government. And due to this, it became kind of like a lawless land. They didn't receive protection from the world government, so there were always pirates kind of rummaging through, and human traffickers and stuff like that. So it became a very lawless place, and it was here that Whitebeard was kind of born and orphaned as well. Many orphans were born of this place, and he was one of the few orphans that was produced from this village, Whitebeard. So he, at a very young age, he left to become a pirate. This is what Marco tells us. He left to become a pirate, and even though his like friends and family were basically all dead, he still sent kind of like tribute, sent all of his loot and stuff, his share of the loot, his share of the plunder. He would send back to this village so that it would kind of rise and become a joyful and a peaceful place to live once again. So he called it. He would send his dirty money back to his village, and Nekomamushi makes the point of in this kind of lawless world with the world government in rule and this Tenryubito as kind of like the highest order. There is no such thing as dirty money, you know. So Mako has been protecting this kind of final keepsake of Whitebeard in honor of his memory. And the only question here is, where are the other Whitebeard pirates? I have no idea where they could be, and also, like we were told by Marco that Whitebeard's grave is somewhere nearby, but the question remains, where are the other Whitebeard pirates? I mean, like, I know the Payback War took place, and they're scattered, but why is Marco still the only one left at that particular island, while the rest of them, even though they were meant to protect, or it's suggested they wanted to protect this final keepsake of Whitebeard, they're not there, unless they're in other areas where Whitebeard kind of hung his flag and said he would protect, and they're protecting those areas as of now. So Marco talks about Blackbeard invading the Payback War and all that stuff, which started the Payback War, and then Marco and obviously the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates lost. As you'd expect, Weevil comes up in the discussion, and Marco says he wasn't aware of Whitebeard having a son. Obviously, Weevil is suggested to be Whitebeard's son. Maybe could be. I'm not too sure though. And in order to protect it. And he says he needs to protect the village from Weevil once Weevil decides he needs to target Marco, because Weevil seems to be going after all of the previous Whitebeard pirates. So we then get another blast from the past dropped on us like a bombshell. So Weevil's mother, her name's Bakin, according to Jamini's box. I've forgotten what her actual name was, but let's go with Bakin. And she's a former pirate from 40 years ago, according to Marco. And during those, or prior to those 40 years, she was on the same ship as Whitebeard, and I was like, this was a huge what the hell moment for me. Like, she might be more dangerous than we actually know, or any of us previously thought, simply because she might know more about Whitebeard than any of us gave her credit for, especially if she was serving on the same ship as Whitebeard. So is she truly after just Whitebeard's kind of inheritance or his riches, or is there more to the story than that? And I think there might be more to that. She might know about something that Whitebeard did or has, and she's after that with Weevil. So with this, Nekomamushi seems to kind of give up on the idea of recruiting Marco into the kind of war on Wano kind of thing. But Marco has a message he wants delivered to Luffy. We don't know what it is, but this was the part on Manga Stream where the translation was really awful. He was like, Marco's talking about how he's probably not going to go to Wano, and then he's saying, we're going to Wano, aren't we? I need you, we're going to deliver a message to Luffy. And I was like, this is conflicting. It doesn't really make sense at all. So just, if you read that bit on Manga Stream, then you read that bit on Jaimini's box, you'll see what the difference is. So yeah, it would have given rise to a huge amount of misinformation. So I'm 8 minutes in and I haven't even got to the best part of the chapter. So Oda does the dirty and suddenly cuts straight into a double spread, a huge double spread, very well drawn, of Wano Kuni, where we see cherry blossoms falling and a woman playing a shamisen. The whole scene very reminiscent of classic feudal Japan, and I love the kind of the idea of the feudal Japan. So seeing this was awesome. And you see in between two gates, we see this kind of like giant ass bonsai tree with a castle on top. Possibly where the shogun dwells, I'm not too sure. It could very well just be where some dignitaries separate from the shogun dwell themselves. So, and for the first time in almost 3 years, it's been like 831 days, I think someone said, we see the other side of the Straw Hat crew. So we see Frankie, who's now known as Franosuke, and he's a carpenter working alongside other carpenters within Wano, building up Wano, you assume. And we see Usopp, now known as Usohachi, who is a toad oil salesman. This part actually might come in handy later on, because this toad oil seems to be a wound sealant of some kind. It's really weird and really unique, but Usopp shows the people of Wano what it can do, and they seem to be really intrigued, as if they didn't have it there before Usopp came along, or Usohachi. We have Robin, now known as Orobi, a geisha aiming to be called into the shogun's drawing room. Maybe this will come in handy later on as well. If she's pulled into or she's called upon by the shogun, maybe she'll be some sort of like some sort of spy for the Straw Hats or something like that. We don't know how it could go down. So seeing Robin as a geisha, I mean, like we had Tatsumaki yesterday, and now we have Robin as a geisha. I didn't know I needed this as much as I did when I saw it, but it was a really cool thing to see. So we then learn of the plan Kinemon told the Straw Hat crew, which was he knows that the shogun and whose name is Kurozumi Orochi, by the way. Orochi being the kind of multi-headed snake kind of monster in Japanese mythology. So maybe this will come back because we know that Kaido has a crew full of smile users, so they're full of Zoan type devil fruit users, which are artificial, and the guy's name happens to be Orochi, so it has to be something to do with some sort of serpentine multi-headed legendary devil fruit or something like that. But yeah, so this guy's called Kurozumi Orochi, the shogun of Wano Kuni, and all of his government officials support Kaido. That's what Kinemon's telling the Straw Hats, but they can't do anything to the officials because Kaido will then be alerted and it's GG for everyone. So therefore, while Kinemon and Kanjuro and all those guys gather the necessary people and resources to kind of fight this war against Kaido and the shogun, the Straw Hats need to assimilate with society and kind of blend in to the people of Wano Kuni. So all apart from Zoro, who has been accused of murdering 3 people in the night, and you see him kind of kneeling down before this kind of little tiny table, and he's wearing the white kimono or haori of someone about to perform seppuku. I'm just waiting to see if my camera is flashing, because it usually flashes around about this time so I can split in between videos, but apparently not. Yeah, so Zoro is also accused of stealing Shusui, which is his black blade, the national treasure of the Wano kingdom, which was the sword of the samurai Ryuma. So Zoro, also now known as Zoro Juro, is his kind of status is Ronin. That's his job at the moment. So the Ronin Zoro Juro has been accused of killing 3 people in the night, and it happens to just be Zoro, who was told to blend in by Kinemon. So we see one of these corrupt officials, I assume, who was being mentioned by, or who were being mentioned by Kinemon, who is he's now handling Shusui, and he's looking over the seppuku that's about to occur with Zoro, and he's drooling over the fact that he's now in possession of the legendary blade. You know, this is a national treasure, and he's holding it in his hands. So while Zoro prepares for seppuku, he asks why his seppuku blade has no hilt in it. They just don't have a hilt. I've never asked that myself, really. I don't know why, but I assume it's because the blade is so small. It doesn't, and because of the action of seppuku, it doesn't really need a hilt. You don't need to grip it so much. And he slightly annoys the individual that's kind of charged with his beheading as well. So going through the motions of seppuku, we see and hear the shamisen playing again, and I was like, oh, something's gonna go down, bro, because whenever that's playing in a movie, you know shit's about to go down. So Zoro then smells blood upon the corrupt looking individual, the official looking individual, and tells him he's the murderer. He's like, I smell blood on you, bruh, you're the murderer. So the shamisen is playing more roughly now, and it's like the guy's plucking the strings real hard, or the woman is plucking the strings real hard. She reaches a crescendo, and Zoro slashes at the official, slicing through him and through the building behind him. I was shook. I was like, yo, this is crazy. So Zoro, the samurai are stunned by Zoro's expertise with a blade, while Zoro apologizes to Kinemon because he's gone and struck an official. So even though the rest of the Straw Hats seem to have done pretty well, and Zoro so far seemed to have done pretty well in blending in with society in Wano Kuni, Zoro's gone and screwed it all up, and now shit's gonna hit the fan, because Kaido's definitely gonna hear of one of the officials getting wrecked by a very apt swordsman with a seppuku blade. He's gonna realize that it's a very good swordsman at the least, and especially when he steals back, I assume, Shusui from the official, it's gonna all hell's gonna break loose. So Zoro might not have just pulled out the best of moves for the rest of his crew and for Kinemon and the rest, but what else was he going to do? He wasn't going to commit seppuku there and then, and if he'd escaped, it would have been more hassle, but it would have been just as much hassle because the murderer would have been on the loose. So yeah, it was a great chapter. We got to finally see Wano Kuni, and I was so happy about that, because it's been teased for so long. Since Ryuma, actually, we've wondered about Wano Kuni. and Zoro's going in with a top knot. We see all of our favorite characters like Orobi as Robin as Orobi, Frankie as Franosuke, Uso Hachi, which is Usopp. It was just really really fun to see, and I really like the kind of exaggerated Japanese feel to it. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. If you don't like that it's outside, I apologize, but it's really good weather, so I thought I might as well. And yeah, so that's all for my review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. My One Punch Man review should be coming out later today or tomorrow, and then after the One Punch Man review should be my Boku no Hero Academia review. So let me know what you guys thought and all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.